Welcome, NBA fans, to our NBA Draft 2015 recap. My name is Brandon Condron, and with me today is one of my good friends and huge NBA fan, Ben Parker. Ben Parker is from the BillStreetBears.com and NBA Lords blog. Ben, what's going on, man?
Not much, man. Just excited to be here.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for being in these videos, man. You know that you and I have a lot of fun with these. I don't know if you're like me, Ben, but I was one of those weird people who watched the entire NBA draft. I have a problem, and my name is Brandon. I personally really enjoyed the draft. The past 10 years, I've been one of those people who's watched, if not the entire draft or most of it. Just quick thoughts before we dive into our questions and topics. Did you watch the whole draft? Did you watch most of it? What happened with you?
I watched the entire draft from start to finish. I was there to the very end, to the very last pick. Was there for all the trades. So, I mean, I was there for the entire process, and like you, I had a lot of fun watching it and seeing how it all unfolded.
Good. I'm glad that I'm not weird like that. I feel like if you're huge NBA fans like we are, you kind of have to watch it, or at least watch the entire first round. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. So we're going to dive right into the questions. We are just going to talk about the NBA draft. I have the NBA draft board right in front of me here. And as most of you guys know, Karl Anthony Towns from Kentucky goes first. Now, I wasn't really surprised with pick 2, Ben. D'Angelo Russell, who I did some homework on. I like that pick for the Lakers. A lot of people were like, oh, they're going to go with Okafor. But it's like, I don't really know if they needed Okafor. They may or may not regret picking him up because I think D'Angelo Russell is a solid player. Really, the whole hype is about the Knicks picking their pick. I'm not really going to talk about that unless you do. Only time will tell about that. Here's one pick, Ben, that I was a little surprised on, and it's not because of the player. It's because of the number that he was picked. Willie Cauley-Stein at number 6. This is kind of an on-the-spot question, Ben. Did you find that surprising?
Yeah, I did. In my mock draft, I had him going 13 to Phoenix, actually. I had him going 13 to your Phoenix Suns, and he was projected to be sort of an outside top 10 guy. And the reason why it was a surprise, I actually had his teammate Trey Lyles going before him. And the reason is because Willie Cauley-Stein is a terrific defensive player, but he's not a great he's really not an offensive player. And to me, I think that usually you want to get like the first, I think like at least at the top 10, you want guys who can not like the problem with Trey Lyles, for example, is Trey Lyles is an offensive player that isn't a very good defender. His comparison is Carlos Boozer. That's what NBA Draft.net compared him to. Yeah. So that's not bad. Boozer's been a good player, but Boozer, as we know, can't defend. But you want your top 10 guys, if possible, to be two-way players that can help you on both ends of the floor.
That's what every team looks for, yeah.
Right, and so since the consensus on Cauley-Stein is that he's a guy that's got some potential indeed to be really good defensively, but can't play any offense. Right. I thought that was really surprising. But I'm not surprised it was the Kings in the sense that the Kings are a bit dysfunctional right now, to say the least. And nobody knows what they're going to do. So in that sense, I wasn't surprised it was the Kings that took him. But yeah, that was like the first pick where I was like, whoa, didn't see that coming. Exactly. And guys, that's what we're going to be doing here. We're just going to be basically discussing the draft. And again, nothing against Willie Cauley-Stein. I actually really like Willie Cauley-Stein. But at number 6, I was like, what? Like, literally, I was like, I don't know. I like that, though. I like how I reacted like that. And, some people were saying that Justice Winslow dropped a little further down, but he was in the top 10. I hope that a lot of these kids can have solid careers. My Phoenix Suns, for those of you who don't know, I'm a ginormous Suns fan. They picked up Devin Booker. I made a whole video about that, and I featured Ben's mock draft in that video. So if you guys want to check that out, I'll leave a link down below. Kelly Oubre going number 15. I don't know if that was super low. And Ben, I'm going to get into one question for you real quick, and this is what I asked you prior to this. Is there any team or teams that you felt like won the draft? I feel like this year it's a little complicated to answer that question, though. Yeah, that's a really good question. It's hard to kind of answer, honestly. I think the team that won the draft was the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think that getting Karl-Anthony Towns, got the number one pick, got the best guy in the draft, picked up Tyus Jones. She's a really good point guard, hometown guy after Minnesota. I thought the Timberwolves won the draft, to be honest. They got a solid point guard that can shoot, that can score, and they also got, perhaps their franchise player. So I think the answer to who won the draft for me was definitely Minnesota.
Yeah, and honestly, there's no right or wrong answer for any of these questions, really. And that, again, I feel like in past years, you could be like, oh, this team won the draft or this team. I don't know. For some reason this year, I feel like it's anyone's answer. I totally agree, and I loved that trade they did with Cleveland, getting Tyus Jones and what the Cavs sent over. It was smart. I think maybe Minnesota had that plan. Who knows what they're going to do with Ricky Rubio? There's been rumors surfacing with him for a long time. I'm personally really excited for the Timberwolves, Ben. I don't know if you know this, but I've actually made a few different Timberwolves videos talking about their roster. They are so talented, but they just keep getting hurt or they just don't win. And it's just, I don't know. I'm really excited for them. Hopefully Karl-Anthony Towns is the answer. Maybe Kevin Garnett can kind of, be buddy with him and teach him the ins and outs.
Yeah, I spent some time living in Minnesota, actually, so I'm definitely hoping that they can get their team together.
Yes. And real quick, I wanted to let you know, which you probably know, but maybe our fans don't know, part of that trade involved Rakeem Christmas, who I saw play in the NBA Draft Combine, and that guy, I'm just saying, I think he could be a really good player for the Cavaliers. And again, it worked out. It's not like the Cavaliers lost anything when they traded Tyus Jones. Scrolling down a little bit here, just mentioning some names that you may or may not be familiar with then. Larry Nance Jr. going to the Los Angeles Lakers. At 27, I thought that was good. Kevin Looney, I've heard some things about. And now we're going into the second round real quick. Jordan Mickey from LSU was another player I kind of had my eyes on. And scrolling down here, my Phoenix Suns originally drafted Andrew Harrison, but then they ended up trading him to Memphis for John Lure, which, whatever with that. Now I'm going to take you to our question here, question number 3. Did you have a favorite pick in this year's NBA draft? I virtually just kind of gave you my answers. Just anybody off the top of your head, you were like, oh, I really liked that pick.
Well,
I could even go for Willie Cauley-Stein in a way.
Yeah, I mean, one of the guys who I actually liked was Anthony Brown of Stanford. I saw him play several times at Stanford this year. I'm a Cal guy saying this. UC Berkeley, it's our rival Stanford, but
he went to the Lakers, correct?
He went to the Lakers. But I have a friend actually who played on Stanford's basketball team last season. I'm not going to mention who he is for the sake of his own privacy, but I know a guy who played on the team. So I went to a few more Stanford games just to support him and the team, even though they weren't playing Cal. So I got to watch the Stanford team a lot and followed them. And I was really, really impressed with Anthony Brown's game. And the reason why is because he's got really good length. He has a terrific NBA body. He's a really good shooter. And, he's a fifth-year guy, fifth-year senior, so he played on the team for a while, so he should be able to come in and be a veteran, provide a certain veteran presence as far as rookies are concerned, because he's actually played 5 years of college ball, smart guy. I mean, so I think Anthony Brown could be a steal in this draft for the Lakers. And the thing that was really interesting, too, was the fact that, Chase and Randall, their point guard, was sort of viewed as the number one guy on the team this year. And he certainly was the leader of their team. Chase and Randall was. But even back in March and February, back when Randall was way higher up in the draft board than Anthony Brown was, I still rated Anthony Brown a lot higher on my draft board.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, and I knew what kind of player he could be, and I was kind of scratching my head why he wasn't higher up on people's lists. But he ended up servicing me high. He went a little higher than I thought he would, but I think Anthony Brown of Stanford is definitely legitimate it could be a real steal in this draft. And I think actually, if of all the Lakers picks, I think he was the best pick that they made. He's not the best player they have, but I think he was the best pick that they made because
there's obviously a difference there. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think the D'Angelo Russell pick. I mean, I would have gone with Okafor. And Larry Nance Jr. to me, I saw him play against Cal earlier this past season when they came to Berkeley, and he was good, but I wasn't wowed by his game. That was just one game.
Exactly.
But I was surprised he went 27th. But I thought Anthony Brown 34. I thought that was actually a pretty good reach for the Lakers. I think he could work out very nicely for them.
See, and that's my whole point. That's basically this whole video. Was this draft was so interesting because players went when I didn't think they were going to go. And also, I did a lot of homework for this draft, as clearly you did too. This is clearly a point guard's draft. And I also did a little bit of homework on Larry Nance. And yet, there's a lot of players who, sometimes have great college careers and then they don't really do too much in the NBA. I'm not saying it's going to happen to Larry Nance. There's honestly a lot of players who I feel like could be good and literally – what's the word I want to use? I guess these would be players who I feel like can be franchise players in like 5 to 6 years. These are solid players. It is a point guard's draft. Literally what I'm saying is that all these kids have bright futures, and if they work hard and if they get minutes, this could be one of the best drafts ever. But it's hard to tell. This draft was so – up and down
were there
this year, man.
Were there any undrafted players that surprised you that went undrafted?
To answer your question, I'll have to cop out. I would say Brandon Ashley of Arizona. And the only reason I say that is because he's from Arizona, and I did a little bit of homework on this kid. Now, I know it's just the draft combine, but he didn't really have that too good of a draft combine. Brandon Ashley is a power forward, but his body's not all there. I think he has kind of like small legs in a way for a power forward. And also, because I mentioned it earlier, is it Aaron Harrison, his brother?
Yeah.
Didn't get drafted.
Yeah.
And that goes back to my entire point about this draft was maybe these people didn't get drafted. Maybe they went really low in the draft. But there could be a lot of steals like with the guy that you mentioned earlier, man, like Rakeem Christmas, anybody. This draft – I can't wait for the future, man. It's going to be bright. So to answer your question, I'd say Brandon Ashley and Aaron Harrison. That's just in my opinion. There's really no right or wrong answer. I wanted to ask you, Ben, am I wrong to think that the Portland Trailblazers could be pretty good this year with the trades that they've made?
They could be pretty good. The only concern for them is whether or not they hang on to LaMarcus Aldridge. I think that's the thing. I think getting Plumlee was nice.
That was really the reason I brought it up.
I mean, that was nice. That was a nice deal, but you almost kind of wonder how much was that a move to under the assumption that what I can't tell about the Plumlee move honestly is whether or not that move was made with the hopes of keeping Aldridge around, or if that was a move that was like he's going, so we better get ourselves a talented power forward, and Plumlee could be that guy. I don't know if Plumlee is if Plumlee's that kind of player that can really, be. He's not LaMarcus Aldridge, is my point. Yeah. So I mean, I think if LaMarcus Aldridge comes back, the Trailblazers could be really good. But if he's gone, then I don't see any reason to think that they're going to be a better team.
Yeah, I agree. And I guess the main reason I brought that up is because when the trade was announced, I saw Plumlee's name. I was like, what? And again, it all does kind of come down to if they keep LaMarcus Aldridge or not. If they do, I think they'll be even better. But like that Blazers team, man, sure they've been good over the last few years, but they haven't really, like the Clippers, they haven't really gotten over that last step.
Exactly.
So we'll see. Ben, is there anything else you want to add on or talk about in this NBA draft recap video? I mean, I think we covered all the big things about it.
Not really. The one thing I did want to add that was interesting, the undrafted player that was a surprise to me to look out for is Christian Wood of UNLV. He was a guy who I had going in the first round, actually, 19th to Washington. He went undrafted. So that was a huge shock to me. Yeah, and the reason is because he has so much upside and so much talent, and the NBA draft is all about talent and upside, and he's young. He's 19 years old. So the Rockets signed him to a partially guaranteed deal. And I think that's one move to keep an eye on, because I think that if he can actually live up to his potential, and the Rockets sign him for the cheap, I mean, you got him with Dwight Howard and Clint Capella. I mean, geez, that could be really frightening to Houston. And Houston, I believe, also added Montrezl Harrell as well in the second round.
Yes, they did, because I saw that. Mm-hmm.
And I had them drafting him in the first. They ended up drafting him in the second, but I thought he was a nice fit for them. So I think Houston is a team that actually might be Minnesota's the biggest winner because they got Towns, and he's the best player in the draft and all that. But if they're looking for a second winner in the draft, it could be the Houston Rockets, because they just picked up a first-round talent at the price of an undrafted player. So, I mean, that's huge, and that's something that I think will be very interesting to see how it all plays out with there, Houston and Wood there.
Yep. Great stuff today, Ben. It's always a pleasure working with you, man. Again, man, this draft was so fun. It was so fun to watch, and I can't wait to see if we are both right or wrong. Yeah. It's not even about that. I just want to see what happens in like 5 years with this draft.
Yeah.
We'll look back and be like, well, we were right about that, or we were wrong about that.
Yeah, exactly.
I will definitely leave links to Ben's blogs and articles down below. Check out his mock draft, guys. It was really interesting to read. And check out the video that I made about Devin Booker going to the Phoenix Suns. And a lot of fun, Ben. We will definitely have to talk more during the off season. And thanks for being in the video, man.
For sure, man.
All right. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Links down below. We'll see you guys next time.